DAs, prosecutors, DAs, state attorney generals, attorney generals, that
Alright.
really took over.
Almost time for me to go to work.
Controversies keep piling up for the
Trying to get these
Secretary of
dishes
Defense,
done real quick.
threats to allegedly skirting Pentagon
I don't want
rules
to deal with this
set up
shit tomorrow.
a dirty line as it
Just get it done real quick. I'll be
there.
good.
Then we are hours away from the funeral of Pope Francis, where afterwards his burial will break a 100-year tradition. And imagine making a wrong turn in a place that's notorious for getting lost and that leading to your arrest. And if you're an immigrant without legal status, deportation. And former Congressman George Santos, you know, the one that was accused of using campaign money for OnlyFans?
Damn, they give him 7 years.
He's got 7 years behind bars, effectively ending his notoriety tour.
Who else in Congress is committing fraud?
They're all frauds.
If you were to put me,
Name them.
if you were to put them all under the same scrutiny I was put under, you vacate the whole building.
So they got his
Hey there, we are starting tonight with this big escalation in the clash between the Trump administration and courts over immigration. The FBI arresting a county judge over in Wisconsin for allegedly obstructing ICE's efforts to catch an undocumented immigrant. Now, according to the the Justice Department says that Judge Hannah Dugan
get the fuck out of here.
Eduardo Flores Ruiz evaded authorities when they showed up outside of a courtroom to arrest him last week. Now, the complaint says that Flores Ruiz was there facing charges on domestic violence, and another lawyer in the courtroom saw Judge Dugan escort Flores Ruiz through a non-public door near the courtroom's jury box. The complaint then goes on to say that the agents had to chase Ruiz on foot and arrest him. There is also another different but very high profile case. Another judge, this one way down in New Mexico, where a county judge has resigned after being arrested with his wife. Now, the couple are accused of hiding an illegal Venezuelan immigrant who authorities say is a member of the Tren de Agua gang. Now, investigators also say the man on the right here is standing next to the judge in pictures. A lot to unpack. And we see Dave Gutierrez has more.
Outside the Wisconsin courthouse, dramatic escalation between the Trump administration and the courts over deportations.
It is clear that FBI is politicizing this situation to make an example of her and others across the country who oppose these attacks on the judicial system.
Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge Hannah Dugan now out on bail after being arrested this morning in the parking lot of her own court, accused of obstructing the arrest of an undocumented immigrant. According to court documents, that immigrant is 31-year-old Eduardo Flores Ruiz, who had a deportation order against him. The FBI says federal agents showed up with that warrant at Judge Dugan's courthouse last week and planned to arrest him in the public hallway outside the Ruiz is facing charges of domestic abuse. According to a criminal complaint, when Judge Dugan told her about the planned arrest, she the situation was absurd. Says the judge instructed Ruiz to leave through a escorted Ruiz and his
Alright, I need to stop back there. Seriously.
According to the documents, Ruiz made it outside and sprinted down the street before he was arrested after a foot chase.
I think some of these judges think they are being are not, and we're sending a very strong message today.
That message comes as a former New Mexico judge and his wife were also arrested for allegedly harboring a member of the violent gang Tren de Agua at their home, which is denied. President Trump said on April, accusing the judiciary of standing in the way of his crackdown on illegal immigration.
These are judges that just want to show how big and important they are. We have hundreds of thousands of people that we want to get out of the country. And the courts are
Dave Gutierrez, thank you. And could the walls be closing in on Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth? Well, according to what a number of
Nigga
sources
mine, what? I ain't lying. Nigga mine. Yeah, what's going on? What's up?
Behind the scenes insecure.
found me. What's going on?
Staff at one point, according
Oh,
to
no.
U.S. officials familiar.
Wait,
with
are you
the
trying to
meeting
insult me or
even
something?
Admiral
I'm not sure what you really
Chairman of the
mean.
Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Hey, guess
The news
what?
leaked out. The Hague said
I don't give a fuck.
classified military briefing for Elon Musk, who demanded proof that Grady wasn't behind the leak.
You got anything else, though?
Allegedly screamed at him
Sometimes I get
all
Mr.
over
Clean. I like that one. I don't mind. Make up my name bad.
Escalating controversy. Let's bring in NBC News
Come
national
on,
correspondent
come up with another one.
Courtney.
Guys, the last several days have really seen a drip of new information.
You
about
seen
how
my
Secretary
cat?
of Defense
Yeah, I got a
Pete
couple of
Hegseth
cats.
is handling sensitive and classified information. It all started with the reporting about Signalgate by the Atlantic's Jeffrey
Want to
Goldberg
buy an
last
Audi
month.
R6?
Then
Who wants to
earlier
buy
this
an Audi? I ain't got no money.
chat that the
I'm
Secretary
broke.
himself had started, including several of his
I know I
family
ain't buying
members
no
and
Audi.
close friends, where he talked about military information,
Griselle?
specifically
Is
strikes
that what this
against
is?
the Houthi rebels
Griselle?
in Yemen. Well, now we
Hello.
have some fantastic new reporting out of the Associated Press that he and matched by NBC News. He also has installed what's known as a dirty line in his office. Now, his office is a SCIF, it's a secure compartmentalized information facility. Basically, that's a place where you can have computers and phones that can transmit sensitive information. But it's more than
Please,
that.
can you give me
The
a
office
shout out?
itself,
What does that
the
mean?
SCIF, it's supposed to be a place where you can discuss
Might be a
sensitive
boy.
information. Because of all of that, there are really
I'm so confused. Where are we at? I'm getting
about
confused
what
already.
cannot be inside that office.
Lost
You can't have
already.
a cell phone, no AirPods, no Apple Watch. There's even rules about people who can come in and out because of the possibility about classified information being under discussion. Well, this new dirty line, which is essentially an outside unsecured communication line that the Secretary had installed in defiance of the overall security protocols that are governing secure facilities. This line opens up the possibility that an adversary or a hacker would be able to breach the Secretary's communications on this unsecure line. So they could monitor his communications, they could hack into it, but it's a bigger problem because of the fact that there can be classified sensitive information inside that secure facility. And now, the Associated Press was first to report on this, but as I said, this just is another example that we've had in recent weeks that the Secretary is making judgments that are in defiance of the security protocols that had existed for the Secretary of Defense and for other senior national security officials in government for years. Scotty?
Courtney Cubic, thank you. And now to some new data from NBC News. Stay tuned poll. It seems like Gen Zers have some thoughts about the generation that's currently running things in the country. Take a look at this one. The question was, do you agree or disagree that nothing will change in the U.S. until a new generation of leaders is elected in Washington?
Hey,
Yeah, that's
get out of here. No, I don't want no cats over here right now.
18 to 29.
Get out.
They agree. And nationally, 77% of all adults also
Yeah,
say
cats,
they
they
agree.
wanna
And that's not all. A lot of you
fuck around right now.
into this poll, and we're going to break it down for us in our very good friend, NBC, Savannah Sellers. Hey there, Savannah. What else do you have?
Hey, Gotti. So I want to take you through some of these numbers in our new NBC News Stay Tuned poll that's powered by SurveyMonkey. Some of them are super interesting. Maybe we can pull them up. First, just on
Yeah, I wish I
political
was
parties.
Mega Mind.
Maybe
Shit, I'd have a
not
much smarter
such a
way of doing
surprise
this
with
fucking
particular
bullshit.
generation, but they're not really
Fuck.
happy with either. If you look at some of these numbers, while the Democratic Party
Got a
has
dishwasher,
higher
but that shit's
favorable number,
broken.
it's still less than half at 46%, saying they have a favorable view.
Anybody wanna buy me a dishwasher?
35% saying the same.
Yeah, like
thing.
500 bucks.
Republican Party.
I ain't got it.
If you look at this question here, which party fights for people like you? What's the highest number there? 41% say neither party, and each actual particular party just getting
shit.
only a little slice of the pie. And when I was talking to people, I was talking to young people all over the state of Virginia earlier this week, they were telling me exactly that they didn't really feel like they fit into either political party, or I actually met multiple people who were in their early 20s, like 23 years old, who had already changed political parties. One who went from Republican to Democrat, now independent, one who went from Democrat to Republican, just kind of switching around, trying to make it work for them, trying to piece together something that felt like it reflected them. And it also came up several times with these young people that even though they know it hasn't been successful in the past, they would love to see a third party because right now they're not reflected in these. Also, when we talk about gender roles, I know that might sound kind of random, but it's one of the things that we threw into this poll, kind of to try to get an understanding of where this generation is when it comes to some of these more traditional things that are making their way into the spotlight right now. So we asked the question, would America be stronger if more women held traditional gender roles? And we gave the examples of like homemaking or raising children.
Jojo?
Take a look at these numbers, and what I think is kind of the most interesting thing on the screen right now is if you look at the three column. Look at the number for men. 41% agreed with that statement, while for women, just 26% did. And that actually played out for me also when I was talking with people, IRL this week, young men saying that they agreed with that sentiment, that if women were at home in those traditional gender roles, it would make America stronger. And we saw that gender divide on quite a few issues. Finally, I'll just touch on the economy. Young people also not super thrilled about the state of the economy right now, which kind of tracks with other generations. But actually, they were the generation with the highest percentage to say 69% of people ages 18 to 29 did not approve of President Trump's handling of inflation and the cost of living. And this week, I heard the price of eggs, I heard about rent and how they feel really tight. So a lot of insights from our poll. There'll be more on the insights from our new poll as well. Back to you, Betty.
Super insightful. Savannah Sellers, thank you. And earlier today, Luigi Mangione pleaded not guilty to federal stalking and murder charges in connection with the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson.
I will be back like days.
To death, as he also faces state charges in both New York and Pennsylvania connected to the murder. And the other big legal news today is former New York Congressman George Santos sentenced to more than 7 years in lockup on federal fraud charges in court today. Santos said
I got that boy good.
Responsibility for his crimes, but that wasn't always the case. Watch the lead up to all this. Remember?
Who else in Congress is committing fraud?
They're all fraud.
If you were to put me,
Name them.
if you were to put
Angela Cittadella to break down all of this legal news. Okay, let's start with Mangione. He's technically facing 3 cases. His criminal charge, or the criminal charges, the New York charges where Thompson was killed, the others in Pennsylvania where Mangione was found. But does it matter here which trial is going to go first?
So the federal trial is the one with the biggest consequence, obviously, because that is the only one that can implicate death penalty here. And so as a result, his team has said they want this trial to go first just because of how serious the charge is. And also what is on the table. So with death penalty cases, they can be very, very long, right? There are a lot more motions, a lot more appeals, a lot more particular care going
Where I live in San Francisco.
Violations of the defendant because of obviously what's at stake. So his team here wants this to go first because obviously this time to agree he does get the death penalty due to the other charges he did with Scotty.
We've seen a lot of Mangione supporters showing out today, a lot of people in those green shirts. In the grand scheme of things, this all will come down to juries, right? So could all of the hoopla that we've seen around these cases really impact what happens inside the jury room?
So absolutely, because to some degree that's a reflection of the American public, right? And that is what a jury is supposed to be comprised of actual humans who represent the American public. Now, with the death penalty in particular, the jury has to unanimously agree that that is the appropriate sentence. So here goes a question of would he be convicted? And here the charge that implicates death penalty is murder with a firearm. Now, it seems that there is a fair amount of evidence for that, right? It seems that the likelihood of conviction could be high. But then beyond that, the question would be, would the jury also agree with the death penalty? And just given how varied the response is, I think it's going to be very hard for prosecutors, Gotti.
Since we got you on this Friday night, let's switch gears a little bit to George Santos for your analysis there. Specifically remind us, what did he get convicted on? Because I remember very vividly, trying to keep track of all the different allegations, but in the end, what did he get convicted on, and what was his defense up until the last moment?
Yeah, golly, so look, it's really fraud that he was convicted on, right? Of taking money and using it for purposes that he wasn't supposed to. Now, he, though, ultimately pled guilty, and as a result, his team asked for just 2 years. They asked for the absolute minimum. Now, the prosecutors asked for 7 years, just over that, and that is what the judge agreed to. Now, it seems high, but why is it so high? It's because with fraudsters, the question is, will they go back out and commit more fraud, right? So when you have a defendant who seems to be exhibiting an enormous amount of remorse, there's always a question mark in the judge's mind. Well, how real is this remorse that we're seeing? And the judge today really said that he doesn't necessarily believe this remorse, especially given a couple things. One, that even though Santos says that he has no money, he can't pay back any of this, that he does have, for example, a Jaguar and a Rolex, and he was out there doing cameos. That's what the prosecutors really said here was super problematic with this remorse aspect. And then also with these rampages that Santos went on social media against the DOJ. So any lawyer would say, prior to sentence, your client should not be on social media ranting against the Department of Justice.
Wait. So his prosecutors brought up the cameos. Before this, I was like, how much are those cameos going for? They're hundreds of dollars right now, right? The restitution we just had up on the screen, it seems hefty, hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's a lot of cameos. Is there a schedule for when he has to pay, how much he has to pay, and how much he actually has right now?
Yes, so he says that he doesn't have the money to pay it back, but again, the prosecutors point to certain things like he rented a second home in Pennsylvania and obviously Jaguar and the Rolex. But after he gets out of prison, then 10% of his earnings will go back to paying this restitution, and so hopefully that will eventually happen, Gotti.
Angela Cittadella, we will stay tuned for more reality TV that I'm sure is headed our way. Angela, thank you so much for joining us. And tomorrow, a final farewell to Pope Francis. His funeral is set to start at 10 a.m. local time at the Vatican, and NBC's Tom Yamas has been there with the latest.
Pope Francis's funeral will be filled with ancient traditions, but the security
doing?
is very high-tech. Cameras,
Hey!
thousands of police officers protecting not only the public, but the heads of state that tonight are flying into Rome. Tonight, the next step in the ritual of saying goodbye to a pope. A white silk veil placed over Pope Francis's face, holy water sprinkled on his body, an inner lid marked with a cross, his name, and a coat of arms, and finally, the sealing of the casket. Before this moment, the Vatican saying over the last 3 days, 250,000 people have passed through. Outside, the lines so long, tensions were high. This group told it was too late, no more visitors. But then, in the spirit of Pope Francis, those shut out were let in. They ran to line up and say goodbye. Earlier, we witnessed the crowd surge.
Today on the last day of public viewing, the crowds have exploded in size. They stretch as far as the eye can see behind me.
The Vatican estimates 500,000 people will come to the Pope's funeral tomorrow, including 50 world leaders. President Trump just arrived, and former President Biden, a devout Catholic, will also be there. Pope Francis's penchant for simplicity will guide the day. It's something the Archbishop of Philadelphia, Nelson Perez, says he often saw firsthand, including during a visit where he stayed in the Pope's residence.
I went up there to my country, and then standing next to me, picking something in the microwave. And it's like, this is the drink, right? That's the simplicity of... He didn't change. He was the Pope, but he didn't change. No.
Greg Burke, an American, spent 5 years working closely with Pope Francis, including as his chief spokesman. Today, he said goodbye.
If I can ask, what did you pray when you got to see him?
Well, I prayed thanks.
Just thanks
For being a small part of it.
And after the funeral, the world will see something that hasn't happened in more than 100 years. Pope Francis will not be buried here, but rather at a basilica about 3 miles away. So there will be a procession through the eternal city at a walking pace as thousands are expected to line the streets to say goodbye to Pope Francis. Reporting from Vatican City, Tom Yamas, NBC News.
That will be be a sight to see. Tom Yamas, thank you so much. And here are some of the headlines following tonight. Incredible body cam footage showing the fiery explosion after a deadly chopper crash. Now, this happened 2 years ago in Florida, but the new footage shows Broward County deputies risking his life after that crash. That helicopter had some mechanical issues falling on an apartment building. Unfortunately,
I hope I finished it all in. One more rinse.
Aiden Peterson is facing DUI charges. The former player was arrested in Minnesota on Michigan early this morning. Recently failed a drug test, pulled over for driving above the speed limit. And yes, Peterson was at the Minnesota Vikings draft party.
Get out! Get out!
At Minneapolis. He was released on $4,000 bond hours later and is due in court next month. Some good
I don't want you over here right now. Go over there.
They saved a mom and 2 kids from getting kidnapped. Those bystanders approached that SUV, which was dragging the mom. The incident happened back in March near Jacksonville. Man was arrested a day later, and he's facing a bunch of felony charges. And nearly 180,000 car seats are being recalled. Federal officials say Durrell Safety First Grow and Grow Sprint seats are at risk. And they've got concern that the seat's headrest, foam pads are a choking hazard. So far, 13 incidents have been reported of a child sitting with piece on their mouth. The company is going to mail people new parts of their mouth. And Alaska Airlines is spicing up their planes, bringing the house of the mouse to the skies. The airline debuted a new Disney-themed plane. The 737 is inspired by the frog and it is now their 9th Disney-themed jetcraft. Now, don't go anywhere. We are just getting started. Up next, the jury in trial for murder pays a visit to the crime scene. And later this hour, a wild police chase in Los Angeles leads to a standoff outside of a house. The whole thing caught on camera. We can show you what went down.
For a sandwich you'll really love, gotta be Wendy's. It's a really piece deal that is cut for that victory. Should Democrats have done more to address the debt when they were in power? Are cuts to Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security off the table? If it's Sunday, it's in the press. More Americans turn to NBC than any other news organization.
Hey, well, new developments tonight in the Karen Reed murder retrial in Massachusetts. The jury wrote a field trip to the scene of her boyfriend's death. NBC.
Karen Reed's widely watched retrial unfolding outside of court today. The purpose of the view is to help you better understand the evidence which you'll hear during the course of the trial. In an unusual move, the jury visited the Canton, Massachusetts neighborhood where Reed's police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe, was found dead. Though the spring day, in sharp contrast to the conditions his body was recovered in back in 2022. The prosecution and defense urging jurors to look closely at the black Lexus returned to the scene that Reed is accused of hitting O'Keefe with before leaving him in the car.
What time is it, Joe? Huh? 7:54? It's time to go.
The defense also pointing jurors' attention to
Nah, buddy, I'm gonna make some Kool-Aid.
at the time belonged
I'll make
to
some
a police
Kool-Aid.
officer.
Consider the distance between that second floor front window.
Reed's attorneys argue O'Keefe was not hit by a car, but injured by someone else indoors and then moved into the cold. Reed opting not to join the jury on their visit to the crime scene today.
Get out here.
I don't know
Get
if
out.
that
Get out.
Back in court, more insight around what happens between the couple right before his death.
Go. Go.
After tense text exchanges between Reed and
Get out
O'Keefe
there.
were read
Go.
by a trooper on the stand yesterday.
Sick of always
Don't come over here right now.
It's been weekly for several months now.
Today, a paramedic says Reed told
Go over there, Greeley. Don't come over here.
She had with her at the time was an argument. I didn't feel like it was my role to really find out the details on what was said.
So remember that part of the prosecution's argument is that Reed had struck
struck O'Keefe with her car in a drunken rage. And today, a pathologist testified saying that her blood alcohol levels the morning that O'Keefe's body was found were slightly above or higher than the legal limit for driving. But remember, that was hours after the couple had been in the car and had gone to several bars. The defense in their cross-examination suggesting that Reed had some health conditions that may have impacted those testing results. Gotti.
Emily Ikeda, thank you so much for your report. Now, turning to, this one's a wild story. How many times have you followed a man and then taken a wrong turn anyway? Normally you just turn around from Detroit. It could mean getting arrested, possibly even deported. Let's take a quick look. This right here, this is the Ambassador Bridge, right? And this connects Detroit and Canada here. And driving through this area can be tricky. It's got confusing signs, some turns, but for immigrants without legal status, a wrong turn into that bridge's toll plaza can lead to detention. That's U.S. Customs and Border Patrol, Border Protection right there. Yesterday at a news conference, Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib said that more than 200 people have been detained at this bridge since January, and over 90% of them got there by mistake. Let's bring in NPR's Jasmine Garz, who has been reporting on all of this. So Jasmine, let's say somebody accidentally makes a turn and is then arrested. What happens to them once they're detained?
So back in January, we started to hear tips about people who have made the cross turn, ended up on the Ambassador Bridge at this kind of CBP Customs and Border Protection plaza. And what we were hearing from were people who were being detained and held in office spaces that are right by the bridge. We were hearing not just about undocumented immigrants, families. We were hearing about families with U.S. citizen children. We were able to learn these things. And then in March, we found out about a woman, a Guatemalan woman, undocumented, who was held in the office space for close to 6 days with her 2 U.S. citizen children, ages 1 and 5, just 2 people here. And we were able to speak to her and confirm that this is what she had gone through.
Has the White House or the Trump administration said anything about these recent arrests?
Not about this bridge in particular, but you know, we are seeing with the Trump administration, look, there's this promise to enact mass deportation, this mass deportation campaign, and what is happening as a result is that we're seeing overcrowding in detention centers. I'm seeing this reporting throughout the country, really dire conditions in many detention centers. And so, you know, what's really important to talk about here is that this office space, the CBP office space, is not meant for long-term detention. Certainly it's not meant for children. And yeah, it's just not meant for that.
Yeah, this sounds like some weird fluke because of maybe signage or whatever it is. But end up on the bridge, they took a wrong turn. But I just hear when you talk, like I start to think about all the different checkpoints throughout the Southwest, throughout any part of the southern border and the northern border. Do you have any reporting on whether we're starting to see increases on people that are being detained at those checkpoints? And
you know what, I'm done for now. I gotta get ready to go.
Yeah,
Silverware.
It's interesting that you bring this up. During
Get out of here. Time to go. Time for work.
She visited
Start of the work week.
by the Ambassador Bridge, and she was told by a Customs and Border Protection officer that this situation was unprecedented, that they really haven't had to have people in these office spaces. And so really they're dealing with a situation that they didn't have to before. And you know, we started hearing about this situation at this bridge in January.
Got it. Jasmine Garz, incredible reporting. Thank you so very much for joining us tonight. And coming up, Creatine, it's taken over social media. More influencers are swearing by it, but what do doctors say? We're going to ask our friend, Dr. Akshay Syal. But first, you got to see this. The sheer power that one lightning strike can hold. Officials in Oklahoma think lightning caused this massive fire at a tank battery. At least 3 tanks went up in flames and in thick black smoke way up into the air. Luckily, no one was hurt. We'll be right back.
That dirty old hose, it kinks, and it always leaks. It's time to get the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead. Now available on Amazon with immediate free delivery. It expands to a full-size hose when the water's on. While the Pocket pivot swivels 360 degrees to eliminate greasing at the spigot. Made with a Tri-Tex inner tube, force-field exterior, and APT connector. It's 3 times stronger. Search Pocket Hose on Amazon, complete with thumb-drive sprayer and pocket pivot while supplies last. Order now.
Yes, at the possibility of human error. Healing Perfect Street, the healing has begun. As we go to great news, Armstrong leads it to the healing. Every angle, every night.
Get out of here, you little fucker. Go!
Stay on top of breaking news and the biggest stories of the
You
day.
ain't going out.
Get in-depth reporting from across the country.
Fucking cat, that's all you want to do is go out.
To take care of your health and your wallet. NBC News Daily, weekdays from 12 to 4 on NBC News Now.
Hey, I'm Kelly. We are coming on the air with fast-moving developments.
Enough.
Those inflation numbers. There's a lot in the weeds here. We would love to live in the weeds, but Christine Roman's on it. She's joining us now to help us understand egg prices spiking. As anybody who has eyeballs and has been to the grocery store has seen, what does this mean for people? Cheap AI. Talk to me like I'm me, and you know me. How big of a deal is this?
We've managed to arrange a beautiful full moon.
I get
Can
it.
we do this for just anyone, Hallie?
I want you to just vibe in the moment.
Gotta go,
Can you accept any peace deal that is cut without Ukraine?
Should Democrats have done more to address the debt when they were in power? Are cuts to Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security off the table? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
Breaking news tonight, this is a massive storm affecting almost all of Florida.
This soldier is scanning the sky for Russian drones.
Healing Perfect Street, the healing has begun.
You guys are doing music.
Every angle, every night.
Say right here.
NBC Nightly News. News for the generation of now. It's NBC News Now. NBC News Daily. Weekdays from 12 to 4 on NBC News Now. Breaking news tonight, this is a massive storm affecting almost all of Florida.
This soldier is scanning the sky for Russian drones.
Healing Perfect Street, the healing has begun.
You guys are doing music.
Every angle, every night.
Say right here.
NBC Nightly News. News for the generation of now. It's NBC News Now. NBC News Daily. Weekdays from 12 to 4 on NBC News Now.
Can you accept any peace deal that is cut without Ukraine?
Should Democrats have done more to address the debt when they were in power? Are cuts to Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security off the table? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
News lives in the now.
Look at this.
Get out of here.
You can't even see anything anymore.
Let's break down what we know.
You gotta
I'm
see
going
this.
now.
News for
Now.
the generation of now. It's NBC News Now.
Hey, welcome back. Do you even creatine, bro? Because for years, weightlifters, athletes, influencers have all been swearing by creatine to try to make those gains. But what is the science actually behind all this stuff? And what does Dr. Akshay Syal say? He's got the scoop.
Creatine is everywhere.
We should buy some creatine.
On social, so-called gym bros touting its benefits to build muscle.
So legitimately treatment for cancer.
While gym girlies showing up transformations online.
This is your son stop being afraid of creatine. This is me in May before I started taking it. This is me now after about 8 months of taking it every single day.
Even reaching the big screens.
No, thank you. I'm all good on creatine.
For decades, celebrated by athletes for its ability to enhance strength, performance, and even recovery. But its popularity now, a far cry from 20 to 30 years ago. Back in 1998, Mark McGuire received major backlash after opening up about using creatine. He got injected into the center of the steroid debate, in many ways becoming synonymous with the banned substances. Despite creatine being a nutritional supplement that's usually ingested as a powder or capsule. So you may be asking, what exactly is creatine? It's a natural substance found in the body that serves as a source of energy for our muscles. Also
I gotta
found in
get
some
ready.
food, like
Get
meat
out of
and
here.
fish.
experts, and a large
I'll be
body
back
of
on in a
research
bit.
say it's relatively safe. But now, a wave of new studies suggesting it may offer